Today is a big day for you people out there interested in Exodus. If you don't know what this game is, effectively just think about it as the former developers of Mass Effect and Dragon Age are making their own action, sci-fi, adventure, RPG game, and the big concept behind it is time dilation, which we can get into the science behind that, all that later in this video. But they just revealed the first gameplay trailer of Exodus, and it revealed some good information. And on top of that, they even had a live stream with CohhCarnage going into some depth for about an hour, talking about the game and what to expect out of it. And I wrote down some notes so you guys don't actually have to sit down and watch an entire hour of a live stream. Hey, look at that. Me doing a service for you. How cool is that? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to look over the gameplay trailer. We're going to break down the trailer and talk about the notes that I put down from the live stream and give you my thoughts and opinions on the whole thing as well. So you guys can stay up to date with everything going on with Exodus. Again, if you want to know more about this game, make sure to just like and subscribe, because that would be cool. Oh, and they're actually on Amazon Prime, if you guys want to check that out, on the secret level. Some really cool story stuff that's happening over there. They just released the Exodus episode right here called Exodus Odyssey right here. So it's like a little story within the universe of Exodus. I mean, like the cinematics are amazing. If you're a Halo fan, they use Blur Studios to record make all this stuff, so it looks amazing. But okay, let's get into that trailer. All right, we'll just watch this and then we'll kind of break it down afterwards. Well, minimal discussion. It's kind of part of the cool thing I saw. Right, it's pre-alpha gameplay, as I mentioned, right here on the bottom.
Chance to bail, June.
Do it.
Robots. Well, this freeze ability is all over the trailer.
Weapon is a hell of a way to greet your new partner.
So you're June.
We're burning time.
I mean, this trailer's awesome.
Let's make each other rich.
It's really good.
Here to look pretty.
They did such a good job
away with celestial tech.
But now you have to fight bears. Yeah, there's a whole thing about animals in this game. I felt kind of bad though watching that. I don't want to kill animals, man.
Let me light the way for you.
Target acquired.
We'll definitely talk about this segment. That was interesting.
You should have been honest. This place is forbidden. The price is death.
That's what it means to be a traveler.
Ooh, decisions to be made. Who lives, who dies? Exodus. So yeah, that is the first gameplay reveal of Exodus. Alright, so let's actually break down this trailer and see like all the little things I found when I was on live stream talking about this. So like I was talking about earlier, this is pre-alpha gameplay, meaning that we still have some time before this game releases. It's definitely not coming out in 2025. Maybe 2026. If anything, I could see a game pushed to 2027 when it comes to a game like Exodus. For how large scale this game is, it's going to be something that's really ambitious, really complicated, but if they can pull it off, I mean, it'll be something really special. The thing I got mainly from this entire trailer, even though it was a gameplay trailer, I didn't really see much gameplay. I felt like it was much more kind of in vain what we saw previously. It's more just kind of like a vibe check of just being like, yep, this is what the game is like, but I didn't really get much in the way of like gameplay. I didn't really see like how does the game actually play. I saw flashy moments of just like over the shoulder camera stuff like this, these kind of moments were all kind of scripted moments like that. But the one thing to take away is definitely that this game looks absolutely gorgeous. It's just like visually stunning how good this game looks. It actually kind of gives me a little bit of Mass Effect Andromeda vibes, even though a lot of people who are working on this game from BioWare did not work on Mass Effect Andromeda, but it just kind of has that visual art style. I think just because it's sci-fi, jagged edges, and, high-tech stuff. But it's gonna be very interesting to see how this all plays out. There were a couple things I wanted to point out from this trailer that I thought were kind of interesting. I think may have missed the initial look through when it comes to everything this trailer has to offer. Specifically, this moment right here with the character taking the grapple shot or grapple hook up here, right? So we're probably seeing this again like another game with the grapple hook, right? But if I slow this down a little bit, you can kind of see that there's a little bit of weirdness to it. Definitely a missing asset within this cutscene here. You can see, well, okay, we'll get through this section here as the character blows up the bad guy. We saw this all over the place as well. I'm curious if that's like one of the first abilities they've actually found a way to kind of put into the game to make it work and function properly. But right here, you can see that the character actually doesn't have the cable attached to anything. It's just like hovering above their hand. And I'm assuming that it's probably missing the model that would go over their wrist for like a grapple hook or something like that. As you can see, it just kind of like floats right above the character's hand, which definitely breaks the immersion for like an RPG, which is heavily important when it comes to anything RPG related. You want to feel like you're in the world, that you are the character. And when you see little things like that, even though it's not game breaking, right? It's not gonna make you want to not stop playing the game, but it's just like you see stuff like this, you're like, oh, it kind of just like takes you out of the moment and makes you remind you, like, yes, you are playing a video game. Then most of the other stuff was like a lot of it's just cutscenes, moments, just walking through game and stuff like that. Like a lot of this kind of stuff, which again, this is what you would see in the game while playing. Again, graphically incredible, but not really much in the way of gameplay. We did see this world right here. Again, looks incredible. This looks like some concept art shred and then just put right into a game format that looks incredible as well. Again, you have your companions. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the video when it comes to the live stream notes that we have here. When it comes to this, also when it comes to this trailer, some other aspects I wanted to point out as well. With this bear scene, I felt kind of bad, man. I didn't really like killing the bear. I was like, but he looks too much like a bear. He needs to be like a robot bear or something, you know? But if you guys are curious, like what's up with these animals right here, there's a whole thing called the Awoken, where basically they found ways to give animals like super intelligence, with thousands of years of evolution taking place, because technically everything in the universe in Exodus is terrestrial based. There are technically no extraterrestrials. It's just the fact of letting humans to their own devices to create whatever they want. They used the example of just like in 1,000 years humans took wolves and they made it in Chihuahua. So like imagine that kind of concept, but over tens of thousands of years. So there's a lot of really interesting things that are going on within the universe of Exodus. Time dilation being the biggest thing, which I think is so cool. But there's some other aspects of here I wanted to check out, see like what's going on with this. Like you see how these little glowy floaty things right here? I'm assuming this is like ammo is kind of placed around the battle arena. Maybe this is like a little artifact gem thing, which we'll talk about artifacts a little bit later in the video as well here. Big C is just kind of a standard gameplay kind of stuff, nothing too crazy. Yeah, this weapon seems to be the only weapon we've seen in the game. Maybe you can kind of reutilize the weapon to function however you want. You do have like this Winter Soldier arm that's kind of similar to like Shepard's like spear hand thing from Mass Effect 3, but utilized as in like some crazy artifact, ancient artifact tech that is meant to like progress humanity forward kind of stuff. It's like it's the MacGuffin that's within the universe that people are trying to capture and find more about. This part I thought was really interesting. You see when the player jumps on top of the bear, then the bear rolls over and does the stab animation. I'm not quite sure how much of that is a quick time event and how much that is actual gameplay. But some of that stuff is just kind of difficult to tell when it comes to these quick little trailers like this. Some of the characters actually I thought were actually pretty cool. Nothing too cringe, right? They're kind of fun. They're interesting. We'll talk about the character creation a little bit later in this video as well. We're just going over the trailer at the moment. We saw this explosion freeze ability all over the place. I'm not sure if this is going to be like a default ability that you always have. Maybe it's an early ability thing, but we're just going to have to see more about it. Now this part right here, I'm really curious about what's happening here. Because you're like, okay, typical stealth example, like yes, you can stealth around in this game. Cool. But the thing is that when you look at this, first of all, okay, so you can see our teammate right here, our squad mate. This is early on in the game. Technically, you're supposed to have 2 squad mates with you. So this must be like an early game kind of experience where you're probably just like, he's teaching you the ropes of how to do stealth, right? So wouldn't expect a really intelligent AI in this situation, but you have to keep in mind that there's a really weird thing that happens right here because when you look at this guard that you take down, he's just staring at a box, just not patrolling or doing anything, just standing there doing nothing, staring at a box, and then you just kind of creep up behind him. Your friend takes out the bad guy right there. He does look like he dropped some looty stuff, and then you take out your guy you're supposed to take out as well. So it does look like each enemy will drop some type of element that you can utilize. But like that AI, dude, I don't know about that AI, man. Again, this is pre-alpha build, but it just seems like if you're gonna, this is your first time revealing like actual gameplay of your game, you kind of want it to look a little flashier, right? But that just having the AI just kind of staring at a wall like this, just not doing anything, it's concerning. I guess it's a little bit of a red flag for me when I see this kind of stuff. We'll just have to see how it plays out moving forward. Again, more of the like awoken animals that we see throughout the world here. They say like within the universe that they have these animals as more like the ways to things for humans to utilize, while like some doing things that like maybe humans can't do but animals could do better kind of thing, but giving them the intelligence to be able to follow human orders well. It's kind of what the concept behind the whole thing is. Again, we shoot a robot. There are robots in the world. That's cool. This seems like a big like decision moment maybe between squad mates, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Again, this is also just like another boss battle kind of thing you find, and you kind of just dodge shots. Again, it's just kind of typical kind of stuff, but you can really just get a sense of the graphics and just a little bit of the gameplay here. But again, it's like nothing I would say too crazy besides just like the character design and the graphics being really good. But for the most part, that's like pretty much the entirety of the trailer. There really isn't anything else about it. So let's talk about like the details of the notes that I took during this live stream, because they for some reason they chose to stream this with CohhCarnage, who is a major streamer over on Twitch, which he's kind of known for like his single player kind of experience kind of games. But I find it kind of interesting, like they streamed it on his channel and not on their own channels or anything like that. But maybe it's just because CohhCarnage has almost what 1.5 million people following him on stream. While I was watching the stream, I think there was like around 8,000, maybe even 10,000 people watching. I didn't watch the whole number because I got a sweet ad while watching Twitch, because the experience of watching streams on Twitch is phenomenal. But that's a whole nother thing. So let's talk about some of the details that we have when it comes to what they revealed within the stream and what your character's like, what the gameplay is like, and how time dilation plays a whole factor in Exodus. So like I said, let's talk about time dilation right here. So this is going to be a major aspect of Exodus that really separates it from any other game you've ever played before. Time dilation, if you guys don't know, is the fact of traveling at light speed. Time slows down to a standstill for you if you're at light speed, but around you, your time will actually move very quickly. Say if you're going to the nearest star, which is 4 light years away, Proxima Centauri, you travel there for 4 light years at the speed of light. Takes you 4 years to travel there. Take 4 years at the speed of light to travel back to Earth. It would have only been 8 years of time for you, but on Earth, it would have been thousands of years that would have passed by then. So that's how time dilation works. That's going to be a major theme throughout the entirety of this game, which I think is crazy ambitious of how they're actually going to make that work out. But they said like I'm really curious of how they actually are going to talk about this. They didn't really go into much detail exactly how time dilation is going to play a factor in this game. They just say it's going to, be a thing in the game where your decisions can have decades or centuries pass within different worlds based on the decisions that you make in the game. And you can go back to those worlds and be like, wow, so many things have changed since I was there. But I'm curious about how the player will interact with this, right? Is it going to be like very structured story beats? Like you go into Act 2, you go through the portal machine or whatever, it sends you going out light speed to some direction, and then anything that was in a previous life or whatever, previously in Act 1 changes, but then you're in Act 2, which then you can travel back or something like that? Or is it completely based on player choice and how you want to go about doing it? Like say like in Mass Effect 2, right? You can go and do the suicide mission right off the rip. I mean, you'll fail and it won't be good for the world at all, but that could be your choice and you could speedrun the game if you wanted. So I'm curious if it'd be something similar like that when it comes to how time dilation works. It's going to be a real messy thing to see how that actually happens, and you're going to have to take some artistic liberties. You're going to have to cut that line out, like how far do we go with this time dilation thing? Is it going to be player driven? Is it going to be just like strictly story beats that the player will hit? It just depends on how they choose to do that. And either way, I'm all for it. I just want to know more about it. It makes the lead writer for this game, Drew Karpyshyn, who wrote Mass Effect 1 and 2 stories are there, and I think he was still involved with 3 if I remember correctly. Maybe he stepped down from lead writer, but he's writing Exodus, the story behind it, at least for this game. Which, talking about the story for this game, they revealed within the live stream that this game is based off of a novel, and the novel does have a cliffhanger ending, which I'm really curious to see if that's what they do with a new IP in a new studio, that they want to leave a cliffhanger ending. it could maybe be a more open-ended kind of experience to leave itself open for a sequel if this game does well. But for such a huge investment like an RPG game can be, I'd be really shocked if they leave a cliffhanger ending for Exodus. But it just kind of depends how popular this game ends up being, right? Let's see, the next thing I wrote down here is that, like, so they talked about like gameplay style and choices within this game, and they mentioned that it's gonna be very similar to Mass Effect or Dragon Age, or like the type of decisions that you make, how you make them, how you interact with the characters, how the gameplay works as well. So it seems like it's gonna be kind of like, just imagine Mass Effect or Dragon Age, but in space with time dilation and these crazy like supernatural artifact abilities. It kind of like seems to be the general theme that I'm getting out of Exodus, which I am all for that. It looks great. Next, let's talk about the character that you'll play as, June. June is a character that you can play right here, this character right here. Now, we see it as a male version within the game. You will be able to have a male or a female version of June, and it seems like there will be some form of character creator. So this is going to be kind of like, think of it just like Shepard. You can play a Shepard in this game, but it seems like they did say that the backstory behind this character will be very different than Shepard, as you can choose your backstory. This was stated by Archetype that they will reveal the backstory of the playable character June, but you will have your own choices as well. But again, like I said, it's gonna be very similar to like Mass Effect, where you play as your character, but you can still make choices to have your version of it, right? Like my Shepard. It's kind of like the feeling you had back with Mass Effect. Looks like they're trying to do the same thing here with Exodus. You know, they also talked about a little bit when it comes to character progression, in that you'll have companions will have progression, your skill sets and abilities will have progression. They call it the Livestone / Gauntlet, which are like your Winter Soldier Shepard spear arm thing. That will have its own progression. And also talked about how the artifacts you'll find throughout the world of Exodus, or I should say the universe of Exodus, or Galaxy, whatever they decide to choose with that, will give you different abilities as well. So finding these artifacts throughout the galaxy or universe will actually affect how you progress through the game. Talking about progression through the game and story, I guess, a little bit as well, but talking about like open world, is this going to be an open world type of game? Is there going to be a mission? How's the mission structure work with this? And then they said it again, like I said earlier, imagine Mass Effect, but with time dilation and supernatural abilities. And that seems to be the kind of common theme with this. They did state that, like, imagine the mission structure being similar to, say, like a Mass Effect or Dragon Age Origins, which I'm all for that, which then also makes you think about how time dilation actually will play a factor in this game. Like, will it just be something, again, will it be just like a scripted story beat kind of thing, or will it be player driven? It depends however they do it. They also talked about the companions right here. On a mission, you'll be able to you'll have multiple companions with you, but you won't be able to bring all of them with you all at once. You have 2 teammates with you per mission, just like Mass Effect you would. You can have relationships with all these companions. You can even have romances with them. Some of these companions will have conflicts, and you'll have to choose between either one of them when it comes to decision making. You know, we had something similar happen to this with Mass Effect 2, which was a really cool thing, and it did affect the story a little bit when it comes to the character loyalty, especially in Mass Effect 2, but ultimately, it didn't really change the story a whole lot, so we'll see how that plays out in this game. They also mentioned that your companions change over your choices through time dilation as well, so maybe you have to leave some people behind or something, and maybe that could be what this scene right here we're talking about. This could be like a companion, you left him behind for a few years due to time dilation, and now he's like, you betrayed me, how dare you do this to me, child or friend or captain or whatever you want to be. So I think also a really cool thing that they mentioned about this entire live stream is that they also talk about what is the elevator pitch. Give it to me straight, like, what is this game really about? And that was a really cool thing that they brought up, and they said basically, to what everyone said, it's an epic space opera with time dilation that affects your decisions for years to decades or even centuries. So that's going to be just a cool aspect. Like, we don't see any games or media really deal with this because time dilation gets real messy real fast, and if how much player choice plays a factor in this whole thing really does matter. They talked about, is this going to be a single player game? Is it going to be a multiplayer game? It's strictly going to be a single player game. They said outright there will be no co-op, which I'm like, all right, I agree with this, especially for a game like this. That's a single player story kind of experience. And they mentioned that it's going to be coming out in the current generation of hardware, so the PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and on PC. So hopefully before the next gen comes out. Are you excited about Exodus? Let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like if you guys made it far in this video. Hope I earned that from you guys. And well, catch you on the next one. Peace out.